All right, just sitting here on a Tuesday, already thinking about tacos. It's Tuesday, so yeah. I wonder if we have like meatloaf Mondays, taco Tuesdays, whatever Wednesdays, turkey Thursdays. I mean, I don't know, fried Fridays. I'm confused these days, even what day it is going forward here. But it is Tuesday. We're on week 4 of the podcast. We have had this is our 17th show today. 17th show, and we are on 7 weeks of quarantine. And we got a lot to get into today. Christian Arcand is going to join the show from 98.5 The Sports Hub. So we'll have him on in just a little bit. I'll show the lineup for the rest of this week as well. We had a slight change to the lineup this week. We had Will Brinson yesterday, Arcand today. Adam Kaufman was supposed to join us tomorrow, but he flaked. So we're going to have Michael Hurley in, but we'll have Kaufman next week. And then Marshall hooks in, and then the Razor, Andrew Raycroft, joins us on Friday. So another week here of just sitting here. I'll give you some thoughts later on wrestling, what I watched last night. Also, a show recommendation that I do think that the guys would like. I know the girls would probably love it. I'll give you one of those coming up a little bit later as well. We'll do that at the end of the show. And of course, one other thing you can do is you can chat into the show. And I'll just throw this one right off the bat. Yo, Big Jim, love the podcast. My name is Joe Murray. I am Joe. We actually will have Big Jim on next week, I believe. But again, Joe Murray, not Jim Murray. And oh crap, yep. So you can chat in, easy as that. So let's bring in today's guest. His name is Christian Arcand. He is from 98.5 The Sports Hub. He probably woke up early today to do this. Is that correct, Christian?
No. Oh, no. Well, actually, yeah, for me, today was waking up early, actually. Yeah, I usually wake up around 1 or 2 o'clock because there's no reason to get up any earlier than that. Plus, working nights, you get into a routine, and that's just sort of where I am right now. We're at the point now. It's what, day 44 of this thing? 45? We're 45 days into the fucking quarantine, and it's like every night into the day into the night is just. It all runs together. Nothing is different about any of it except for the different shows that we do. That's it. That's the only thing that's different at all.
So 2 things I wanted to bring up about that. Working nights, like one thing I know is when I come home, dude, I can't sleep right away. My brain is still going. I know you used to go have a beer after just to kind of let loose a little bit, but like your brain is still going after 6 hours of doing radio.
Yeah, you do that. And for me, it's like, I don't know. I get like a rush, like especially like after the show's over and we just finished. Especially if it's a good show, which isn't that often, but when we have one, I think you get that sort of that like adrenaline rush, and I don't come down from it for like a couple hours. So yeah, I live walking distance from 3 really great bars right here in Alston. There's a bunch of good bars in walking distance here. You don't appreciate them until you can't go to them. You don't appreciate them as much until you just can't go. But yeah, I got the Silhouette, I got Deep Ellum, I got Lone Star, I got Model Cafe, got Lulu's down the street, which is another great place. There's so many great bars around here, and that's what I would do. I would, on the way home after doing the Jones show, because that show drives people to drink all over the place. I'd stop and have a beer. I usually watch the end of like a West Coast game if it was on or something like that, and then just walk the rest of the way home. But yeah, it's one of those many things we all took for granted,
Yeah. So, dude, the other night I was in Brighton and I went to a great place called Fiorella's.
Yes.
If you're near, they have a little express, but they have like a restaurant
in Oak Square.
Boom, right there.
Yeah, I know that place.
And I drove by the last drop. And I took a quick look, and I'm like, damn, man, like that was the spot to go to because I think they were open till 2. I'm not sure if everywhere else is open till 2, but whatever. I just remember that spot, and I'm like, man, like you can't even go into the bar these days, and like, oh, what are all like people? I hope everyone's drinking at home and being responsible. But for me,
behind me here.
I have that same liquor bar.
Look at that thing.
now, listen. I know you're getting
that thing's been well stocked this whole time.
I know you're getting married, so I think that was an engagement gift or a wedding gift as well. And so we have that in the Murray household as well. That thing's stocked up. You even got the little shakers too for the for the mix there.
We were making margaritas the other night.
the other thing that I wanted to mention here, is like, how are you guys coming up with content right now? Like, I get it. The draft was something that you could do for a month or two.
Right.
And then you can recap the draft. So last night, I'm sure you guys did a ton of recapping of the draft. But like, now what? Because like, dude, I like, for me with content today, I'm like, shit, like I'm gonna shoot. Oh, you can swear, by the way.
Okay.
The little, see the parental advisory up there. But like what now? I'm like, what am I gonna do? So now I'm gonna have to like think about ideas, like, I don't know, like butt rock from the like late 90s, and just do like segments on that. But like, how are you guys coming up with 5 hours of topics at this point?
Well, it's really been a lot of draft, and you know Jones, he's a big college football draft guy, so that's like right up his alley. I don't know if you saw this, but one person in the whole fucking country picked the Kyle Duggar pick, and you're on the podcast with him right now. He's taking the time. By the way, Hurley canceled? Not Hurley, Kaufman canceled?
Kaufman canceled.
Oh man, that's got to be a blow to the ego.
And he reached out to me to come on. He's like, dude, I want to be a part of it. I'm like, dude, you're in. Like, let's do it. I'm talking to like all my homies, you know,
right?
Like past, future, whatever. Like, let's do it. You want to talk for an hour? Let's do it. But yeah, so he backed up. And the thing was Hurley was
like, "Ooh, I got a thing today." So.
And then I reached out to Hurley, and Hurley's like, "Wednesday or third, dude, I'm doing nothing. Like, please." So like when he bailed, I was like, "Hey, Hurley, we're good to go here." So yeah, but yeah, like the content, man. Like, I don't know. Like I'm gonna start talking wrestling again, or I don't know. Like, but like for you tonight, like I want to get into this later because you had a nice little topic for your in case you missed it that I do want to get into on the show. But like, yeah, today, like if you guys already started an email and what you're gonna talk about tonight.
Yeah, we started it. I I haven't contributed much to it yet because, you know, obligations and everything. But yeah, last night it was pretty much just the recap of the draft. We sort of went position by position. I sort of knew in the back of my mind, like going into this week, really the last 2 months, like once we hit the draft, once the draft's over, there's going to be stories here and there, but it's really just going to be everybody waiting around to see which league opens first. And if none of them open right away, there's nothing else. We just got to see if Tom Brady breaks into somebody else's house or something down in Tampa. Like, those are the only news stories. We're not getting any games, and we're probably not getting too much more movement in terms of NFL players, free agency, trades, all that shit. But like, oh man, yeah, we've sort of been dreading this. Like, I've been dreading this. I think we'll be fine because Jones and I, you know, you're like this too. We can bullshit about whatever. And we do, you know, we have these new segments, the Blair Binge Project, where we all binge watch TV shows and then review them. We've been doing the quarantine games where Jones and I do trivia contests against each other, and Jeremy and Mason cheat so that Jones wins. It's really, really bullshit, that is. But, you know, those are some suggestions so far that we've done. We're doing the Dong List Report, since there's no dongs, so we just do the numbers and all the other crap, just not the home run part. We do that at the end of the show. So, you know, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. I've done other radio. I've not done non-sports radio, just talk radio before, and it can be kind of a grind. We're probably not going to get political or anything like that. That's usually, you either do sports or you do politics when it comes to talk radio. We're not going to do politics. No. I don't think anyone on our station is really going to do politics. Like, right? Nah.
Out on that. A couple of people checking in already. What's up, fellas? Talk football. Who was on with us?
What's up, John? What's up, buddy?
Hey, Arcand, does your brother still drive that old tan Cadillac? Someone wants to know.
Oh shit. How do you know about that? That car was passed down through my family. Okay, so no, he doesn't. That car's long gone. But that car, you're gonna like this story, Joe. That car was my grandfather's car in the 80s. It was an 83 Cadillac Eldorado, right? Which is what it's what they tried to blow up De Niro in at the end of Casino. Yep. Except it wasn't like bright pink or whatever, it was beige. But it was basically the same car, which in the 80s was like top of the line. My grandfather had just retired. He like splurged on this fancy car. And then in this cruel twist of fate, his eyes started going, so he couldn't drive it anymore. So he passed it down to all his grandkids. And I have like a bunch of cousins, and we all got it one at a time. Like my cousins got it. They passed it down and down and down and down. I got it. I drove it for a year, which was the best year of my life, by the way. And then my brother eventually got it. So I don't know who this guy is, but he must have known my brother when he was in high school, when he was a senior or junior in high school. So whoever you are, Danny Moe, no, he doesn't drive the Cadillac anymore. But that car was a big part of our family.
So, of course, you can chat into the show. For those listening, you can do it on Facebook or Twitter or Periscope. And just do it right there. Your boy Danny, yes, he loves it. Loves the amazing story. Buddy Ryan checking in. Listen to Toucher and Rich last week talk about Tuca's farts for 2 days in a row. Again, if it's funny and you can get through it and you enjoy it, it's just something you do. You just let it roll, and sometimes things just hit, right? Like it's just a hit. You don't mean for it. Like some days you have a whole show planned, something happens, and you just go with it because it generates calls and it's funny.
Yeah. You remember one time you and I were doing a weekend show and we were talking about Antonio Brown on and on and on, and it was September 21st, and I remember that because I asked B-Rob or whoever it was to play that Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
That's right.
Remember? And you and I started singing the song, changed the whole show. For the last hour and a half, the whole show was totally different.
It was the exact day of the song, right?
Yes, yeah, 21st night of September, yeah.
That was it. The whole day, it was just, it got you thrown out. I remember that day, and I actually talked about that. I might have went out that night, and I was like, can we get some Earth, Wind, and Fire, man? Like, it's the day, man. Like, I was on and on about that. All right, so we'll get to more Arcand stories. People, the voice of an angel. I don't know if that's me or you. We got
probably not me. It's probably you.
Incredible voices. A songbird of our generation.
That's definitely Murray. You ever heard Murray sing? Murray's the best singer I know. Murray sings all these pop songs on the air, and it's great. That's better than the real ones. I think every song is better when you sing it. I'm serious.
What's funny is when I do them, you at least when you hear them again, you appreciate them, and you can only hear them in my voice.
Right.
I did Cake by the Ocean one year. Yeah. And it was like you could never ever unhear it as "Talk to me, baby," or what's that, Kiki? Do you love me? Like you'll never unhear it ever again in my voice. So Christian, you've had a pretty interesting radio adventure. I know a little bit of it, but for the most part, though, I know that you grew up in the North End. Your family owned a bar that was legendary in the area. I know you went to Cambridge school, and then you went to Colorado. So kind of tell us your whole story.
That's it. You got it. That's everything that happened. You're right. I grew up in the North End. My father had opened a restaurant there. Well, it was a bar really, but we served food too, called the Ames Plow in Quincy Market. And it was my first job, was running food up the stairs, because it was a downstairs bar that had an outside patio out in the marketplace. And it was really, it was there for a long time, almost 40 years. That place put me through school. That place was, that was a big deal for us. And
it's where you learned all the sins.
That too, yeah.
You might have saw a lot of shit going out of there too, I'm sure.
I really did. It was the 80s. So you know what? This is true. There was another place. It wasn't in Faneuil Hall, but it was on State Street. It was around the corner or whatever. And the owner was Steve Fleming. And Steve Fleming opened it with his kids. And they'd show up for these they weren't board meetings, but all the owners of the restaurants and the association or whatever down in Quincy Market in that area would get together for these meetings about when they'd raise the rent or, different restrictions and stuff like that. And, my father would go there, be sitting there, Steve Fleming over there with his kids, just hanging out, going through all the red tape bullshit that every other restaurant owner had to go through back in the 80s.
No envelopes though. Was he taking care of all the guys in the neighborhood? Was that what it was?
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that was, it was the 80s. So it was sort of like the end of the mob in the North End. I remember one guy got arrested in the North End, and when we had just gotten off the school bus, and all these people were walking over to Prince Street to go see this guy. I think it was one of the Angulos, maybe. I was really young, but everybody was walking there, and we got off the bus, and there was just this big crowd of people all walking across Hanover going to Prince Street. And so we all walked, and this guy got arrested. He got walked out of his house. And all these people were cheering, and I was just I was 4 years old. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, but he came out to you you said nothing, kid. And $100 in your pocket.
Yeah, right. It was a rite of passage in the North End back then. Watching a mafioso get walked out of his house by the FBI was like a rite of passage back then. But yeah, so we there was the bar there. My father opened up a couple other places. Some did okay, and some had to close up. And then we moved out to the suburbs. I got into radio in high school. Actually, in high school, I interned in the same building we're in now. And that was at the time called Greater Boston Radio, I think.
Greater Media, maybe. Yep.
Yeah, it was Greater Boston Radio. Then it was Greater Media. And then Beasley took it over. I think there might have been one or two things in between after that. But it was my senior year of high school, and I interned for WBOS, which was adult easy listening at the time. And I was in high school, so it was really hard to find an internship. all the other places said we only do it for college credit, but BOS was like, yeah, come on in, we don't care. So I came in, and I was a productions intern, which meant basically I'd drive my car, those cars in the lot there with the wrap jobs on them. We'd drive around and hand out keychains and shit at like, Fenway Park. And it was the best job ever. I loved it. We didn't get paid, but like, it was just really fun. And I remember once this guy was, he was one of the producers. I don't know if he still works there. I don't think he does. But we were like hanging out after driving around, and the guy comes in and he goes, "Hey, does anyone want to read the spec? It's for a bicycle store." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And so I went in and I read it, and that was the first time I ever heard my voice on the radio. It was for this International Bicycle Center, which is some place over in Newton and Brighton. And I read it, and then I heard the spot running on the air like a couple weeks later, and I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to be on the radio. That's when I knew right then.
Now, did you learn that in Colorado? Like, how'd you end up in Colorado?
Well, I applied to a couple of different places. My father was in restaurants, and his best friend growing up opened a restaurant in Colorado. And so we'd go out there. It was at Vail, and it was one of the first like businesses in Vail before when it became a ski resort. And so we'd go out there and see him. And I think my father like invested in the place a little bit. And so we'd go out there and ski. And so I knew Colorado a little bit, and I applied to CU. And I got in, and it was the one I liked out of all the places I got in. It's the one I liked the most because I had seen the campus and stuff like that. So I went out there. I got really involved in college radio right away. I was doing music shows. I was doing a little sports, little news. And after I graduated, I got a job at this rock station in Denver called KTCL, Area 93. And my job was to they wanted to have like they were like a rock station, but they wanted to have like more hip hop, I guess, and they hired me for some stupid reason just because I was a big hip hop fan. And so
let's put Linkin Park and
yeah,
Saliva. I don't even know who else was like a Limp Bizkit. Got to get
Limp Bizkit, 311, like shit. Like that. And so my first job in radio was I had to reverse the swear words on a bunch of these rap songs so that they'd be suitable to go on the air. So that was my first job. It was like an editing job. I'd get like a Lil Wayne song or something like that, and I just have to change all the swears, and I'd sit there for hours doing that. And that was my first ever radio job out in Colorado. How'd
you get to Boston?
Well, in 2008, 09, that was when Clear Channel first had those big round of layoffs, like right before Obama got inaugurated, and everybody lost their job. Like everybody who worked at a Clear Channel station, which is iHeart Media now, but everybody who worked at like a Clear Channel station, people who've been working in radio for 30, 40 years, that was the first real purge of our industry. And I was in music radio at the time. It didn't really hurt sports and news that much. They felt it, but not at music radio. Was just the iPod wiped them out. The iPod wiped out all these music stations. And they couldn't afford to pay their DJs anymore, and they couldn't afford to pay, all these other departments and stuff. So everybody just got fired. And this guy I was working with sort of, told me, he's like, "You're a production assistant. You probably won't get let go, but you're probably not moving up either." And, I wouldn't say this is like a growth industry. And I was like, geez, you're right. And I was writing for a newspaper at the time. And the station I was working for just flipped formats. I had left 93.3. I went to this other station to flip formats. And I just said, fuck it. And I got in my car. I drove back to Boston, and I decided I was going to try and just try and do something in sports radio before I gave up on this entire thing. Like there's a lot of times in radio where you sort of have to like look at what you're doing and look at everything and go like, all right, so am I going to just keep doing this, or do I stop now? Like it's been a lot of those. So I got home. I went to a job fair at the Boston Garden. And there was a booth there for ESPN New Hampshire. There was a bunch of booths. It was like the Boston Cannons and, mostly like sport teams and things like that. There was a couple of media companies, and there was only like 2 radio stations. EEI had a booth, and WGAM had a booth. And it was Mike Wynn. Mike Wynn was sitting there at the booth. And I showed him my resume, and I was like, listen, I'm really looking for radio jobs. I wanted to get into sports. I'm from here. I've been on the air a lot. And he looked at my resume, and he's like, you one of the only people here with any experience. So here, and he gave me his card. And then he had me producing this weekend golf show up in New Hampshire with this guy named JJ Truman. Do you ever know JJ?
No.
No, he was one of the WGAM weekend people. I thought maybe you would, but yeah, that was my first job. It was just us telling Caddyshack jokes because I don't know anything about golf. It was a 1 hour show on Sunday. I go up there, run the board, play a couple of Caddyshack drops, and go home. And that was, that was the first real show I had.
That's your foot in the door, though.
That was my foot in the door.
And for people who don't realize it, you don't just get on the air. Like
right.
you have to learn the buttons, production, like making sure that the bills get paid. Like that's the number one important. That's the most important job there is.
Yeah, it's true. And from there, there was a weekend show. Mike Wynn wanted to have a show. And this was a great idea. And I wish more stations would do this. Mike Wynn set up a show on the weekends that all the other weekend programming was paid for, or there was like a trade or something like that, right? But there was 1, 2, or 3 hour space that he carved out for young broadcasters to have like a real show on a small station where they could make their mistakes and get their reps and sort of learn what works and what doesn't work. And man, just looking back on that now, there's so few outlets like that anymore. There's so few places you can even do it. WGAM's long gone. Like even getting in through like Metro or something like that, you can't do that either now. Like all the avenues that I took, young people ask me, how do I get in the radio? I'm like, I don't fucking know. At this point, I honestly don't know what to tell you guys. Everything I did, you can't do anymore.
It's funny you mentioned that, young broadcasters. So I worked for similar, and Mike hired me as well. But I worked for a similar small station like that. You guys, so GAM had the business station as well. Was it the SAM or whatever? And,
SMN, yeah.
So Alex Reamer, who people know now, was one of those young broadcasters at the time.
I ran Reamer's board in New Hampshire. Yeah,
there you go. Yep. So we had him at our station. So that was another thing when I was at one station, reached out to Mike and syndicated from Boston and New Hampshire. And that's kind of how that whole thing came around. But to your point, though, like, these ideas that back then, like, if they asked you to do it, you just do it. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm available. I love radio, whatever you need me to do. And, like, that's the one thing I would tell kids is, like, dude, whenever someone asks you to do it, don't say no because they'll ask you again.
Yeah, exactly. They'll find somebody else. And, just getting your foot in the door sort of leads to opportunities. And those opportunities are someone's sick, someone calls out, someone gets fired, someone, whatever. Like, I mean, someone retires and decides they want to go back to selling insurance. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you can eventually get your shot. And it's frustrating and it's tedious. And there's a lot of years that sort of go on and on and on where you are just not making any money and sort of wondering what's the point. But it's very addictive. This whole industry, this whole business is very addictive. Like you get away from it and you want to get back to it.
So real quick, I know GAM, what they used to do a local programming 4 to 6, I think it was. I know at one point it was Mike Banansky and Rich Keefe.
Yeah, and then, that was before I got there, but yeah.
Okay, and then I know it was Matt Peralt and somebody.
Peralt was my boss there.
Okay, yep. And then I believe it was you and Pete Shepard. Is that kind of how it all worked out?
It was in the afternoon show. It was Mutt and Keefe, then Matt Peralt, the home team with Matt Peralt. Then it was me and Tom King. Then it was me and Pete Shepard, and then it was back to me and Tom King. And then they put Pete with this guy Brad Johnson. You know him from Florida?
Yep.
Katie Johnson's husband, and Jimmy Murphy, Bruins dude.
That's right. Yep.
They were all there towards the end too, and that's when the station flipped. I think it's like a big band station now or something. They play like fucking
those reps,
Calloway.
But dude, those reps were imperative to you, right? And
yeah,
a lot of the guys that were at that station were working at EEI, and it probably when they saw your resume come over, they were probably like, "Oh shit, another guy from the farm system,"
Yeah, it started. I didn't go straight to EEI. I started at Metro doing headlines, doing the Sports Flash, which that stopped too. But yeah, I was working Monday through Friday in New Hampshire, and then Saturday and Sunday I was doing weekend headlines for Metro on EEI. And Metro like outsources their updates to all over the country. So I was doing this other station called KOMO in Seattle, KOMO. So I'd have to do those two all day, and I was working 7 days a week, and it was. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I sort of felt like, okay, I'm really close to getting into Boston. I really want to work here. And I feel like I'm really too close to just stop. So I kept at it for that whole year, just working every day. And eventually EEI and Metro broke off their agreement. They had like a trade agreement and they broke it off. And I thought, well, that's it. If they're not doing that anymore, then I'm not going to be on the air there anymore. And that's probably it for me on EEI. And then they fired John Ryder, and that sucked because John Ryder really helped me get into Metro. He's one of the few people that really spoke up for me, and I didn't know him either. I was dating at the time. I was dating this girl who worked at the Grand Canal, and he was a regular there. And she was like, "Oh, you should meet my friend John Ryder." I was like, "John Ryder from Planet Mikey?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was, I didn't have a job back then, so I was all excited to meet him, and he was a really cool guy, really, really nice dude. And then they canned him, and I was like, well, now I'm definitely done, because sometimes I'd fill in for him, but they kept me. They kept me as like a fill-in, and then when they put Mikey and Mutt together, those two hated each other so much that they put me on that show so that they wouldn't fucking kill each other, and that was how I really got my.
You were the peacemaker.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, let's put this guy in. He's from the North End. Oh shit. Let's put him in the middle of a guy from New Hampshire and Mikey. This should be pretty good. So yeah. All right. So you're at EEI. I know you were doing nights. You had a fucking good run there, man. You were there for a while. You built an audience. It was something that was on the air when, let's say, your competitor was off the air.
Yeah.
So you had that time. You did post Red Sox games. This is like in the height of the Red Sox era too. You know what I mean? Like a lot, some really good games and post game talk and all that shit. And that must have been a great highlight for you. But what happened at EEI? I had Jay Stu on, and I think he said that what happened with him was, they asked him, "Hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And he goes, "Well, where do you see me in 5 years?"
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Oh, well, we see you doing the same thing." And that's when he was like, "All right, I gotta get my shit together." I guess I should ask you, what happened with you at WEI?
Well, I mean, first of all, I really remember my time there very fondly. I really, that was growing up, I listened to EEI on like 590. Remember when it was on 590 AM?
Yeah, yep.
I go back to 590, and 850, and like Andy Mose and, the Fabulous Sports Babe, and like way back, the A-Team and all those guys. And like, it was a big deal for me to get to work there. That was a big deal in my life to like be a part of that story, like I got to work at fucking EEI. Like, wow, it was really that meant a lot to me. So when I got the job, I was thrilled. And when Joe Zarbano told me, "Hey, we're gonna do this late night show, and we're gonna put you on, it's gonna be your show," I couldn't believe it. And you're right. I mean, that was a time of night that really the entire city's underserved. I think there's really no late night talk shows. And that used to be like a big strength of Boston radio. It was kind of before my time, but there's guys like David Brudnoy and Larry Glick and like all these guys who were nighttime radio hosts, and people would listen to them at night. They'd watch TV, they'd listen to the radio. And a lot of people in the city are night workers. There's bartenders, there's doctors. I mean, not right now, but you know what I mean? There's like bartenders, Uber drivers, and all these people who are driving around at night and probably love something to listen to. And when I started doing that show, I heard from all those people, and they were all like, "Listen, like, it's great that there's something for us to hear." And that was a big deal for me. So I did that show for about a year, a little more. I was working at the Herald also at that time too. And I remember a year came and went. And I asked them, "Okay, so I've been on 6 nights a week, and I'd really like to, talk about something a little more permanent here instead of just kind of being, a part-time employee." And negotiations never really got much further than that. And I'm not really proud of this, but I just got frustrated, and I didn't have a backup plan, and I just sort of quit. Like, I just said, I can't do this anymore with these hours and this sort of thing. Like, in retrospect, I probably should have stuck it out a little bit more, but if I hadn't, then I wouldn't be here where I am today. So, these things all sort of go that way. Like, there was a couple of months after I did that where I was like, man, I really made a big mistake. I really shouldn't have done that. They're not going to bring me back in. I thought maybe, if I bluffed, like, either pay me or I'm not going to do the show, that they'd be like, "Oh, okay, come do the show." But they were like, "Fuck you, get out of here." We'll find somebody else to do the late night show. And like, I overplayed my hand a little bit there, I'd say. But,
I don't think they've truly replaced you yet, by the way.
Well,
truly replaced you.
There's been a lot of different people in the late night show, but I'll say this. I like that it's still going. I like that they're still doing it. I still sort of feel like it's my baby in a way, but like, I'm really glad that there's something on at that, because this is Boston. Like, Boston should have late night talk, I think, in sports in particular, because there's just such a desire for it, such a hunger for it. I tried really hard to get Mike and Rick to do a late night show at Sports Hub, and they were really resistant to it. But I was always saying, like, hey, remember we did a couple of shows till like 1 o'clock. That was the first time I think that they had done that after some of those playoff games. And I was like, I'll stay on later. I'll stay on till 2, till 3, till whenever, especially after like a Patriots playoff game. That's a great time to be on. And, they weren't into it. And I sort of felt like, okay, well, I guess that's it for this place too. But then Cattle's quit, and the rest. So
now that's one thing I wanted to ask you just quickly before we get to that. There's this myth that like there's this beef between the Sports Hub and WEEI, and like I think that is like not true whatsoever. Like, I understand things are a little bit different there, and things might be, the Sports Hub is really organic. Like, they kind of, they put everything together, and everyone just does their thing, and the managers aren't really involved. I mean, they'll tell you here and there, like, hey, this is what we gotta promote today or whatever. But there's no beef between 98.5 and WEEI. And I know when the ratings come out, everyone's like flexing, hey, look at the ratings or whatever. But I think everyone likes everybody over there. There's some people that you worked with that you didn't have good relationships. And dude, you were there when it was fucking super competitive.
I was there when everybody was sniping at each other. Yeah, exactly. I got involved in that too. And it's very dead. Like, I remember coming over to the Sports Hub and just sort of getting ready to have to like stand my ground and do all this shit, and like it wasn't like that. And a part of it was the morning show, because like Kirk and Jerry, like they really made a sort of point of trying to just stir it up every day. And that was it. I mean, and it worked too. It's not like it was a bad strategy. It was a very good strategy. They ended up really getting a lot of attention and pulling in big numbers at that time, and just their show was doing very well. And they wanted it to sort of permeate the other day parts, and they wanted to get everybody in. They had like this rotating cast of characters that were on in the morning. I was part of that. I wasn't a very good part of it, I don't think, because
you got into it once with Kurt Schilling, though.
Oh yeah, that's true. You know what? They put me with Schilling and Andy Hart on like Christmas Eve one year, and it was basically just me and Schilling screaming at each other for 4 hours the entire morning. Andy Hart like didn't say a word the entire time, and Kurt Schilling, I don't really like him. I don't hate him as much as I did after meeting him in person and sort of having it out with him those couple of times. But he's pretty easy to argue with, because the points he makes aren't that good. He makes a lot of very empty points that are easy to refute and sort of easy to shit all over. And I'll never forget this. The next time I came in to do Kirk and Callahan, they were, how like in the intro they run like a cut or something of the guest who's on. It was me giving it to Schilling. And right before we went on the air, Callahan goes, I heard that the other day. Callahan's voice. He goes, that was a bloodbath, you and Schilling. And I was like, if Callahan's giving me props, he's about as far the Schilling perspective politically as there possibly is. And even he thinks I bludgeoned the guy. So that made me feel pretty good.
All right. So let's talk about Jones for a minute. So, dude, I've loved Jones. I've known Jones before the Sports Hub for years. In my opinion, I think he's really smart. He's witty. He's insightful as hell. I mean, if you go back to his story, kid was, at 890 was, worked for Felger. He was at the Sports Hub, with Dan Shaughnessy on a consistent basis, and then went to ESPN, and dude was hosting like Mike and Mike in the morning, doing a lot of stuff, and then, ultimately came back and got the full-time gig. But like the whole Dark Knight and Jones is miserable. Like, I don't know. I feel like Jones owns it, but really he's never changed. And then there's this whole thing about his co-hosts, right? Whoever is with him. So whether it was, Rich Keefe, who moved on and has done well for himself. Nick Cattles, hey, say what you want. The kid's working over, he's a program director now. But everybody who's been there, they've kind of moved on. So, when you were in that hot seat, is it something like, oh shit, here we go, what's gonna happen to me? Because I think you guys work well together. I never hear you. Once in a while, you guys he'll agree on something, you'll disagree on something, but like you laugh about it. It's not uncomfortable or anything like that. But was there that feeling of, oh man, I'm the next guy up to get put in the fucking Jones blender?
No, I didn't feel that way. I did a couple of test shows. We did those like audition shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had heard his show. Like I knew what his show was about. I didn't know all the segments. Like I didn't know about the Dong Report because I'd usually be on the air when that was going on. I knew they were like big into UFOs, like him and Keith. Like I knew like certain things here and there, and I knew that he was very contrarian and sort of very negative. But other than that, like my show at EEI was basically on the same time as his, and I didn't catch it that often. So I knew of it, and I knew some segments, but I didn't know everything. But Jones is very prepared. Jones comes in, he's very prepared. He takes a lot of notes. He's got a good memory. Pays a lot of attention to like college sports and like little details and things that you may miss if you're not looking for them, but things that really sort of add to an argument. And I think that's like that's really what it's about is sort of crafting these arguments, crafting these points of debate, and then backing them up as best you can. I feel like every show with him is like a debate class, and I kind of
Yeah.
feel like Mike and Tony are like that too, and to a lesser extent, I think Zoe and Bertrand, like that's a different kind of show. But as far as the afternoon and us on the night show, I think that we joke around a lot, and I don't disagree with him a lot. I sometimes disagree with the way he says something, but I learned early on that there's no real point in radio and trying to be like the tone police. You know what I mean? Like that sucks. Like people who do that sucks. I hate like radio guys who are always trying to check everybody's tone. Like if you disagree with what the person's saying, go ahead and disagree with it. But if you don't like their tone of voice, you just sound like a scolding parent, Like, oh, don't say it that way. Like, shut up. I'll say it how I want to say it. He wants to say it in a negative way. You can say it in a negative way. I may not like it, but I'm not going to sit here and pout because some guy's being negative about my favorite team. Like that's cheesy. You stop caring about that stuff. I stopped caring about that stuff when I was like 17. But Jones really gets under people's skin with that stuff, especially the hockey fans, which is my favorite when he starts going after the hockey hardos. And I really enjoy working with him. He's the closest person in age of any radio partner I've ever had. Everybody else has been much older than me, so it's cool to have a partner that sort of gets modern references and watches the same shows I watch and stuff like that. I love all the guys I've ever worked with, but this is sort of a new experience in that regard, and I definitely appreciate it.
The one thing I'll say about Jones, and again, this isn't the Kiss Jones ass hour or anything like that, but dude, so you know how it is, man. Like whether I'm feeling at night, you slide over, like. Dude, you're there at night and all these other shows are going and you have to have this opening take and somehow it needs to be different than what everyone else has been doing all day, right? You don't want to do the same old shit. Somehow he finds something that's happening somewhere else and brings it to what's happening in New England or in the Boston area. And like that's why I think that it gets under people's skin because they think he's like looking for it, but he's heard everything else all day long. You know what I'm saying? So he's trying to just be different and come up with it and be creative. So, he kind of like hides, holds the Dark Knights out there, but like, dude, he's just doing his job, man. Like, and he's just being different and not recycling and doing all that other stuff. So, like I said, I think he makes us all better. And I want to get into the Jordan documentary, and I'm not doing the Jordan Pippen thing, but he does make everybody better around him. And, I love working with the kid. I know you do too, but, it's an experience at night, man. I think that's why it's worth listening to you guys. I popped you guys on a week ago, and you guys were like doing draft picks about tackles, and you're like, all right, here we go, lineman talk, and it's boring, but you guys make it funny because it's like, here we go, this guy's story or that or about the Patriots. So whenever you listen to the night show, you don't know what you're getting into, and I think that's like the best part of the night show. That's a compliment to both of you guys. It's just you never. It's a box of chocolates, man. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, and we do. It's for the most part like we have an outline, we have an idea of what's going to happen. These days, though, with the quarantine, you don't. I don't want to say we have to make the news because you don't make the news, but like you have to read into things a little bit. You have to sort of try and predict things that are coming up and read into signs, especially with these leagues trying to open right now. Like you have to, it's the same way you craft an argument. You kind of have to look at like, okay, does it make sense for Major League Baseball to go to Arizona and have everybody, open up at the facilities in Phoenix? And does it make sense for the NBA to try and fucking start on a cruise ship or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to sort of go through all these things and think about them. And it's weird because now instead of like, all right, what's this going to mean for the team? It's more like, what's this going to mean for the sport? And that's a real different way of sort of talking about these things. But we're trying to sort of navigate that without being too fatalistic about it, because people don't want to tune into a sports talk show and hear everybody talking about how sports is going to be canceled. Like that's, I feel like that the one thing that is keeping people listening to us is the fact that we sort of represent normalcy, I guess, in a way. Like this is what we did before. We listened to sports radio, so we'll just keep doing that. That's part of our routine. And in Boston, that's part of a lot of people's routines at night, during the day, whenever. And routines are getting disrupted right now. People aren't driving to work in the same way, so drive time doesn't really mean as much as it used to while the quarantine's going on. And I'm sure less people are driving at night, so I mean, maybe less people listening to us. I would think that the simulcasts are probably doing really well right now with everybody stuck at home on NBC Sports Boston.
The streaming numbers are through the roof, dude.
I bet they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're through. All right. So if you look at my my photo here, or my screen here, do you see what's over to the left of this shoulder, right over here?
That looks like is that Tom Petty?
No, below. Well, yes, that's the Wilburys. But do you see what's below that?
Oh, that's Lord Murray's Cup.
So I thought. So I came in. The Bruins lost in Game 7.
Yes.
I came into the studio and I found Lord Murray's Cup in the trash. Who threw it in the trash?
I threw it in the trash.
I know it was you.
The Bruins got eliminated, and I was very angry.
You were angry at me.
I threw in the garbage.
You thought it was my fault. You blamed Lord Murray's Cup.
I did.
You thought it was all about that. No.
Also, Lord Murray's Cup, I had a great day with Lord Murray.
There we go.
See that?
Yes, that's right.
I was drinking Miller Lite. It was really water, but I was drinking water right out of Lord Murray's Cup right there. But in the place where we work.
Dude, that could have been, imagine like the duck boat parade, or like going to the parade with that thing, dude.
Oh yeah,
just like going around town. We could bring it all around the North End, dude.
Yeah,
we could have hit. We could have hit up all the Brighton spots in the Southie bars. It would have been. It would have
put
been
it in the stroller. You remember when Chara put it in the stroller and he was walking it up and down Hanover Street?
it would have went worldwide. Anyways, all right. So I get some funny stuff for you coming up in a minute here, but the draft overall. I had some takeaways, but I like how on your Twitter page you have CeeDee Lamb with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
With the rejection. All we need is a play-by-play on that one. That was one of the best moments of the night. Becton and his dad, I thought, was like insane how big Becton was.
Yeah.
And his dad. Cliff Kingsbury flexed, but then Jerry Jones really flexed with his yacht.
With the yacht, yeah.
He got
looked like he was on the Starship Enterprise.
Literally. Mike Vrabel's Wild House. And then, you don't see the guy taking a shit in the background until like you really look at it. And then I thought Roger Goodell just kind of sucked. Like he looked pink. He looked like the Pink Panther to me.
Yeah, Roger Goodell. I mean, that was a pretty good opportunity for him to kind of act like a regular guy, to kind of just be like, yeah, hey, here we are, what's going on, da 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 da. And instead, he's trying to like give dap to a video screen, and like, he's like, I'm eating the M&Ms, you guys. He's like, meh. Like, shut up, Roger. Like, you suck. Roger Goodell sucks. It's amazing that he's kept that job for so long, because I don't really know what it is that he does. Like, what does he do? Is he a great ambassador for the sport? Is he a great representative? Is he someone that you see him on the screen and you think, yeah, there's my guy. That's football. Like even with Adam Silver, who I don't love, but I see him and I think, okay, that guy's a good face for that league. I look at Roger Goodell and I think, what is this? What is the point of this guy? Why does it have to be him? How many things has he fucked up like over the years? And he keeps getting, more and more money. He keeps getting raises every year, despite the fact that every time there's a PR problem with the NFL, he jumps out ahead of it and he screws it up terribly. And he does that every single time. And I don't get it. Like, if he was really good at his job and he did a really nice job of sort of, handling all these PR problems that the league has had over the years. And there's been a lot of them. I mean, domestic violence and child abuse and, all this shit. And like, he always manages to screw it up. Every single time. There's never one of these things where you come out of it and say, wow, Roger really handled that well. And, I always have that in the back of my mind whenever I see him. But something like that the other night, or the last couple nights, that could have been a great opportunity for him to be like, yeah, you know what? I've not been good at my job lately, but I'm going to be really charismatic and funny and relatable and everything else in this broadcast. And he wasn't. He was wooden and shitty and I was watching it going, man, just skip past this part. Just get to the names already. Let's hear from everybody else.
He even screwed up the way, the draft is going on, and if anybody gives bad lip, you're going to be punished. Like,
I know.
He didn't even handle that well. I still think Rob Manfred sucks the most. I don't know what it is about that. He let the Red Sox off the hook a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like there was a little side deal in that one, which we don't have to talk about at all today. But the Patriots draft.
Real quick though, Joe, before you get off of that, the findings that he found that Alex Cora had no idea that there was a guy doing the same thing he did in Houston. I would sooner believe the Dominican police when they say that guy was trying to shoot the other guy, not David Ortiz at the table, before I believe Rob Manfred when he says that. That is bullshit.
Dude, I agree, man. And I watched that Screwball documentary, man, and I can't get over like how bad Manfred sucks. Like, the guy's dirty. He's very dirty. The fact that he was trying to give cash to criminals to gain information, it sounds like a Roger Goodell move. And literally. Then there's Bettman. Like, Bettman's just like, Mr. Burns, like, yes. Like, yes, everybody hates me, yes, but this is what I live for. So and then you think about all the commissioners, and it's like, I don't know. Maybe Goodell maybe is rising a little bit, but he does fuck everything up. So Duggar, all right, I watch college football.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of these guys who
watch a lot of Lenore Ryan games.
So I did not. That's the one thing I'm going with here is I watched. Dude, I knew who everyone they drafted. I knew the tackle. Dude, I knew both tight ends that they drafted. I knew who the kid from Wyoming was. Cash. I knew who these guys were. Fucking Duggar, Lenore Ryan. I know that he was a prospect. I know he was a top 5 safety. I just never saw him, and I never projected him to go to the Patriots. And when his name came up, I was like, that guy, really? I don't even know how you had it on your list.
I had it on my list because I didn't think they'd pick a safety. So I sort of cheated. Like, I went down position by position and thought, all right, for the guys at positions that I think they need, I'm going to take that really seriously, and I'm going to go with the best guy who's going to be available at 23, because that's what we were picking for. It was still 23 at the time. It was before they traded out. And so I said, all right, I picked Kenneth Murray and all these other tight ends and stuff like that, wide receivers who would be available there. But then when it came to safety, I was like, all right, well, they just brought back McCourty. They just brought back Patrick Chung. They just signed that Phillips kid from the Chargers. They're not going to draft a safety. There's no way they're going to draft a safety. So just for shits and giggles, I looked through all the safeties, and I thought I found him, and I was like, Division II, big numbers, can play either one, special teams. Oh yeah, this guy has Belichick written all over him. Thinking maybe if he slipped to the 3rd or 4th round or something like that, Bill might take a flyer. So I listed him as my safety. We did one for each position, and he was my safety. And, Jones was like, who the fuck is that guy? And I was like, Kyle Duggar, man. What, you don't know about Kyle Duggar? Come on. And we did our segment or whatever, and then we're doing the draft, and they traded out the first night, so it was the second night on Friday. And the Patriots pick was up, and Jones goes, oh, my God, Arcand, you're not going to believe this. And before he said the pick, I was like, all right, Murray's picked. What did they pick? Jake Fromm? Who could this possibly be? And then when he says Kyle Duggar out of Lenore Ryan, I almost fell out of my chair. I was excited because I got the pick right, but I was also a little annoyed because as a Patriots fan, I didn't want to pick in a safety there. If you're gonna get an impact player and you're gonna trade out of that first round because you figure that impact player is still gonna be there, get an impact player at a position in need. That's sort of how I felt about it. And I know when time judges these drafts, it's not going to be about what did they need at the time. It's going to be about who's a good player and who isn't. And did you hit on these players or didn't you? No one's going to remember, oh, they needed a wide receiver that year. They're going to remember, oh, you drafted that great safety that year. That's all that matters. It just matters if the players are any good in retrospect. Right now we feel differently, but that's all that's going to matter in a few years. So I don't know. I would have liked them to get somebody else like a linebacker. I thought was fine, but they did address those needs later on. Yeah. Linebacker, tight end, that's what I was looking for, and they got to that. So overall, outside of that first pick, I liked the draft. I thought it was a good draft, but I'm very, very happy that my guy was right and that I was the only person in America that had Duggar to the Patriots. So
it's true.
Jordan Shrug.
and just looking at a couple of the guys like Josh Uche he got benched a couple of times at Michigan this year. He can be an edge guy. He did play well with Chase Winovich year before that. Jennings, dude, I'm sure you guys know his story. He got hurt in the national championship game, almost literally lost his leg.
They almost had to amputate it.
Dude, he was a monster last year. I just just don't know how it will translate. I think he's like a John Simon type.
Okay.
But you want more, right? Like that, you want more with that type of pick. Asi, dude, he's good. He's a good. He can run block. And he's okay in protection, but I think he's going to be like the tight end that actually plays well. But Dalton Keene, dude, former quarterback, played running back, like rushed for like 1,700 yards in high school. He was recruited as a quarterback.
I saw that. Yeah,
didn't play at all. But I think he's going to be what you've always wanted, like Rex Burkhead to be. Like the guy out of the backfield that can go in motion, that can block a little bit. Everybody else, like the kid with the tattoo. Oh my God, is this a story? Are you guys talking about the story at night?
We mentioned it a little bit yesterday, just that no one believed him when he was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even know what that thing meant." Like, you know what it meant. Like, come on, you know what it meant. He's saying the right stuff. Like, I feel like he's distancing himself from it. He says, "I don't agree with that group," and that group's a pretty rotten group. So it's good that I think it's good he's distancing himself from it. But
I have a terrible tattoo myself.
Oh yeah.
I got this when I was in Canada. I was 17 years old.
Nice.
I was very drunk at the time.
Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal. And
yeah.
It's a terrible tattoo. Like, what was I going with? Like the Pam Anderson barbed wire? Like, what?
Yeah, it looks like it.
What is that? So, yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was getting. I really didn't know. And to this day, everyone laughs at me when I go to the beach. It's like, oh, dude, what the fuck's that thing on your arm? So one day I might cover it. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the fuck I was doing then. So I'm not giving the kid a break. Just at the same time, like, he's a kid. Like, let him fix it, and then let's fucking move on from it. But he did play at URI, which I'm in on, Rhode Island, and then obviously went on there. I still can't believe that was the first kicker in the draft. Like I actually had Tyler Bass first over Blankenship. And but again, Bill Belichick knows much more than everybody else. Were you surprised they didn't draft a quarterback?
Yeah, I was. I thought that they would. I thought they'd do one in the first couple days. Actually, I didn't think it was going to be Jordan Love, but I thought someone would either fall to them, or that they, Eason or From or somebody like that they just take a flyer on, or maybe some quarterback I never even heard of. But Caserio had said we're going to have three quarterbacks. Like, we're going to have three quarterbacks. That is a fact. We're not just going to go in with Hoyer and Stidham. And so I believed him when he said that, and it still seems like that's true, but. I don't know. I thought, and what I wanted is that, if Stidham's going to be the guy who takes over for Tom Brady, I'd like to see him really earn that job. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to see him really beat out another competent quarterback, someone who's, pretty good, maybe, a good prospect or something, someone that Stidham really, because Stidham already beat Hoyer out for the job last year, for the backup job. So I don't really consider that competition for him. I think if they had brought in another, a first rounder, or even like a Dalton type or somebody like that, you'd have to work out the money and everything, and they don't have a lot of it. But I think that would have been at least something. At least Stidham earns it. He's proving that he's the guy for the job. He deserves it, instead of just beating out Brian Hoyer, who he's already beaten, and some, Louisiana Tech quarterback who didn't get drafted.
Jamar Smith, bro. I don't know if he'll make it, but I do think that he's better than Brian Lewerke that they brought in.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about either one of those guys. I saw some highlights of Lewerke just flinging the ball all over the place.
He sucks. Oh, yeah. God. But who knows? The Patriots might make him a fucking backup quarterback and play in the league for 10 years.
Yeah, maybe. He could be the next. I mean, listen, that position right now, anybody could be anything. You don't know what's going to happen there. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think that Stidham definitely has the inside track on the job. I think you basically figured that out after day 2 of the draft, when they didn't take anybody in the second and third rounds. And then even in the fourth round, when that sort of came and went, that's when it kind of hit me like, all right, it's Stidham's job to lose, and they're not even really going to make him compete that hard. And I know that when they had Matt Castle, they didn't want to bring in a lot of competition for him either, because they were like, we're going with Castle. That's our guy just for this year. And then when Brady's back, Brady's back. But this is different. That was just 1 year. This is the future. Like, this is the future of your whole franchise. And you're not going to make Jarrett Stidham earn it a little bit more than that. Like, I just sort of feel like that would make more sense. But again, it's Bill Belichick. He knows more than I do. And his track record with quarterbacks is really, really good. So, we should probably give him more of a benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, and Cam Newton, the favorite to land with the Patriots, is someone who looks at these things.
Yeah, what the hell is that about?
Dude, so I think Stidham's the guy. Like, I think they're going with Stidham. They like him. I don't think Newton has a place to go.
So money's just coming in on the Patriots then? It's just money coming in?
Yeah, but I think that if Stidham gets hurt, they might sign him. They do. And the thing is that Hoyer can be here to be a backup. Like, he'll do it,
Yeah.
But if Newton's here, man, and Newton's with Stidham, there's gonna be pressure on Stidham constantly, But some people might like that, but yeah, I just thought that was dude. At one point, kid Watson, Deshaun Watson was the favorite to land with the Patriots next year.
Right.
He just got his 5th-year option picked up, so the you can't always believe what you read with the gamblers. So Brady and Gronk are gone. My whole thing is I think they're going to be really good, dude. I really do. I think that all
the
the
Buccaneers.
I think the Buccaneers are going to win over 9 games this year. I do.
Okay.
And I don't know how well Gronk will do, but if they can find a way to make him not be like a blocker type and be a little bit more of like a outside, like that third tight end role where he can hit the seam and everything. Yeah, him and Evans, dude, around the goal line, they're gonna be out. If he can be on the field, I think it's gonna be really hard to stop.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to be really good. The only thing I sort of worry about, and I say worry, but the only thing I think might not go so great, bringing Gronk down there is a good idea because Brady has a familiarity with him, but he hasn't played in the year. He wasn't really great in that last year. He's a huge injury risk, and I sort of feel like Brady, just the way he is now, he's got a whole new offense to learn and all these new wide receivers to sort of build, trust with and get with. And there's not going to be a whole lot of, training camp and mini camp and passing camps and all that stuff. So I sort of wonder, you remember at the end when Bledsoe would just stare down Ben Coates and he wouldn't throw to anybody else and you just keep throwing to Coates and you get intercepted all the time because everyone knew it was going to Coates. What if that's what Brady and Gronk become in Tampa Bay? Meanwhile, Evans and Godwin are running around getting open, but Brady doesn't know when to look for him because he's looking at Gronk because that's who he's used to throwing to. You know what I mean? Brady's at that type of age where I think that's a legitimate concern. And I think Brady's good and smart enough that he's not going to just, completely freeze everybody out here. But he all but admitted to Howard Stern, yeah, I freeze guys out. I freeze guys out all the time. I've been freezing guys out for 10 years. Rookie players, guys I'm not comfortable with, guys who aren't in the right place. I'll just stop throwing to him. He said that. I'm not putting words in his mouth. That's what he said. So I don't know. I mean, you don't freeze out Mike Evans. You don't freeze out Chris Godwin. But if they don't connect right away, if they don't have good sort of chemistry and work together well right away, what if he just, he could just start throwing a Gronk all the time, piss everybody off, and then all of a sudden that offense is just the shitty offense,
Yeah.
I can see that happening. I'm not predicting. I can see it happening though.
Devlin retired. I put him up there with Sam Gash. I think Devlin, the guy was a converted defensive end and played fullback. But dude, what he did for Sony.
I mean, he was an Ivy League defensive end. Let's not get carried away.
Okay. But still, dude, he had some blocks. He had some runs too. I mean, I think he was a really good Patriot. But when I think of fullbacks for the Patriots, like blocking ones,
right?
Sam Gash is the guy that comes to my head. I know Mark Edwards had a decent run here. Patrick Pass, yeah. And then there was the Keith Byers, Larry Centers had a run here. Those guys really weren't blocking backs. I think Devlin, you could probably put it pound for pound. Him and Sam Gash might have been the two best blocking fullbacks they've had
in Patriots history.
Blocking fullbacks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to the 60s and 70s, I don't know if they were better or not, but that's when the fullback had the block on every play. The fullback was on the field every play. They had the block. They didn't pass that much. It was a whole different game. But yeah, I mean, in the modern era, I would say you're probably right about that. Devlin. Listen, I like James Devlin. I think he seems like a good guy and he's a good player and everything like that. But man, I remember I did a show one weekend and I asked Patriots fans because I was saying, okay, it was before Tom Brady left. I was like, no one wants to talk about Tom Brady leaving, so let's talk about if he stays. If he stays, what does his team need to do to get better? And I had 3 people call in and say they really got to do something about that fullback position. And I was like, what the fuck? What? The fullback position? What do you mean the fullback position? You don't have to do anything at the fullback position. You can put a linebacker in the fullback position, and you won't miss a beat. And you didn't. You didn't skip a beat with Landon Roberts there, or that German kid, or anybody else. So you can just get the fullback. It's not that big a deal. You're the fullback. You go, you block, you catch the ball sometimes. That's it. That's all you have to do. A lot of people can do that. And that was the one thing. And listen, Devlin's probably better than all those other guys. He's probably better than Johnson. I'm sure he's better than Roberts. I'm sure he's better than a lot of fullbacks in the league. But it's a fullback, It's come on. People always are like, oh, it's just a kicker. But It's just a fullback. Like, it's kind of the same thing. That's how I feel about it.
Get ready for Dan Vitale talk on what's the Sunday show called now? The Sunday Christian Mission, is that what it's called now?
The Sunday service.
Sunday service. Yeah, Dan Vitale or Vital. I don't know what the hell it is now at this point. Dude, the Jordan documentary has been awesome. I've really enjoyed. I know it's kind of like our heyday, right? I couldn't believe I was watching that Cavs when I forgot that Elo hit that shot.
Before the Jordan shot.
Yeah, before the Jordan. I forgot about that in my brain. And then obviously I knew that they lost the next one to the Pistons. And we all know about that famous walking off the court thing. But look at them trying to blame it on the Celtics, right? maybe the Celtics did walk off. Maybe they did. Like the way that the Pistons did it was like fucking dirty, man.
Yeah, the Pistons were getting swept. The Celtics, I mean, there's a lot of people who say, oh, the Celtics, they got escorted off the court because there was a security concern. And if you remember in the early years in the 80s, when the Celtics would win a championship, fans would just swarm onto the court. You remember that scene of Larry Bird like shoving through all those people to get off the court? Like that's what used to happen. It happened in Boston. I don't know if it ever happened in Detroit, but that was 88 at that point. I don't think they were still doing that in 88. So they maybe thought there was a security issue. It was Detroit after all. So, I mean, Detroit's going to Detroit no matter what. And it was a big deal for them because they finally had sort of surpassed the Celtics. And, the Celtics Bird stole the ball was the year before. And like they had really sort of stood in their way. So maybe that's true. Maybe they thought there would be a security risk. Maybe not. But they still walked off the court. You still walked off. I'm sorry. Like, you walk out. It's one of the few things the 80 Celtics did that I really didn't like. Stay there, wait on the bench. If they swarm the court, then you sneak off if you have to. But they were on the bench. It's not like they were on the court. And I don't know. I think it was pretty soft of Isaiah Thomas to be like, well, the Celtics did it, so we thought we could do it. Like, no, the Celtics did it and it sucked, and you did it and it sucked worse because you were getting your asses swept. At least McHale stopped Isaiah and was like, hey, congratulations, bring it back to the East. And the Pistons just walked off sulking because they got their asses handed to them.
Jordan wasn't buying it. Jordan wasn't having it. So when you watch this, right? Okay, I think I've said this on this podcast before, but I do think LeBron James is better than Larry Bird. I do, and he's just more athletic and physical, and maybe not the shooter that Bird was. And Bird also has this college history. Like there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot to make Bird like one of the greatest of all times, and he is. The whole Jordan LeBron argument, I don't even think can be talked about. I don't even think it. This isn't a disrespect to LeBron. It's just, in my opinion, that LeBron is just a physical beast that can do whatever he wants in an era where any contact benefits him. Where we watched Jordan do that, he had to go through some great teams. The Celtics team, he went through the Pistons, as we discussed. They had to beat the.
Well, he didn't go through the Celtics team.
Well, they lost
in that series. They kind of glossed over the fact the Celtics swept them
forever. Actually, they never won a playoff game against the Celtics ever.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like they had to play the Celtics, they had to play the Pistons, they had to play the Lakers, and like those are like some of the greatest players of all time on those teams. Where, and I'm not saying LeBron hasn't played against the Steph Currys of the world, of these guys. It's just back then. Like, remember the official just taking Scottie Pippen off the court,
dragging his body off the court,
and dragging his car. It was a different era, man. LeBron's the best of this era. It's just, I feel like when it comes to who is better, LeBron or Jordan, like I compare Kobe more to Jordan than LeBron. I compare LeBron to Magic because of his size, but I just feel like the argument of who is better, LeBron or Jordan just had to go through a different era, man, where things were different. LeBron is the best of this era, no doubt.
Yeah, he is. But also think about LeBron if he played in the 80s. Like if LeBron played in the 80s, he would have been Rick Mahorn. He would have been Rick Mahorn, but also Michael Jordan, because no one could out physical him. No one could push him around. They can't like crack his head in the lane like they were doing the Jordan and Bird and all those guys, because he's just too fast and he's too big and too strong. He would have been bullying those guys around. And he would have been doing all the stuff that he could do offense. That's how I think about it anyway. Like when I get into these talks about stuff, I feel like, you think about the bad boy Pistons and like Bill Laimbeer. And just think about Bill Laimbeer, LeBron James standing next to each other. Like who's the bad boy between those two? Even Rick Mahorn. Rick Mahorn was this big yoked dude, and like LeBron bench pressed his whole family. Like, I just sort of feel like that's not as big a deal. I think the bigs in the 80s, the bigs were the main difference. back in the 80s, all the teams, it seemed like, had, and even bleeding into the 90s, you had Ewing and Olajuwon, and, Shaq came around, and, the end of Kareem, Robert Parrish, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, like all these bigs on almost every team had at least a decent big for, some span in the 80s or 90s. And that was really coveted. Everybody, the big guys would always go first in the draft. You get these, these, and sometimes they were bums like Sam Bowie or whatever, but like that was the biggest difference between then and now. Now they're still bigs, but the bigs have to be able to shoot threes now, like Joel Embiid and Jokic and like all these guys who are good bigs now. If you want to be considered like one of the best, you have to shoot still. Because even like a guy like Rudy Gobert would have been great in the 80s and the 90s, like Mutombo or whatever. Mutombo wouldn't really play that much now, I don't think. And that's just the way the game sort of evolved. So, yeah, I'd say for Jordan, his competition after the bad boy era, after like the Celtics sort of faded out, the Lakers were gone, the bad boys were finished. I think that his competition after that wasn't really that good. Like the late 90s, early or mid to late 90s. We remember it because that was our wheelhouse. But compared to the 80s, compared to even now, I don't think the competition was really all that great for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but he still had to go through some of the greats, whether it was Clyde Drexler, right? I mean, Karl Malone. He had to beat those, John Stockton. He still had to beat Hall of Fame talent to get in. Whatever. The document's really good. I enjoy it. Dennis Rodman leaving and going to Vegas.
That was awesome.
You will never see that shit now. But like so Michael Jordan flew to Vegas to get let me just get it straight. He flew to Vegas to get Dennis Rodman, knocked on the door, and something was going on in this bed, but he was on the floor with Carmen Electra. And it was Jordan that came, and then what? They went back to Chicago? So Jordan just flew to Vegas to get Rodman and go home.
He probably made a couple of bets, too, on the way up there.
That's what I'm saying.
He's like, I got to go get Dennis Rodman right after I hit the poker table.
Like,
I'll go get Dennis.
something was missing there. And then, Phil Jackson did acid and loves Indians. So, like, is he a big Doors fan? Like, I thought that was, and then he relates Rodman to him. Like, oh, you're my Maverick or whatever. Like, I just thought that was funny. But overall, though, like, it's really good. I know I was thinking 10 parts might be too much, but I don't know, man. I think I'm going to like really enjoy this shit.
I love it. Every time it ends, I'm like, man, that was quick. That went by really fast. And I love the music. My favorite part so far has been the music.
Ooh,
the Jordan montage against the Celtics over I'm Bad by LL Cool J was fucking awesome. And the one in the Rodman, what was the Rodman? Oh, the Maestro by the Beastie Boys.
Yep.
Rodman doing all that shit over the Maestro. I was like, wow, like I hadn't heard that song in so long.
And they had Prince with I think it was like when Doug Collins was talking about the year that he had Jordan, like all the shit that he did. I thought that was I agree with you, man. They should actually make that soundtrack and put it out on Spotify. I just want to ask you two questions, then we'll get into some fun stuff. What are your thoughts on sporting events? Do you think they will be played without fans? Would you go to a game now or whenever you could? And then wasn't this supposed to be like the summer of concerts? Like, dude, there was so many concerts this summer, and that's it. It's not going to happen this year.
Yeah. Well, I think there will be sports in front of empty gyms, which is fine. I feel like that's what they're going to have to do. We already saw a little bit of it, like I guess in Taiwan or whatever, some of those baseball games. It's fine. Baseball, I think, will be fine. It's going to be really weird with basketball without that. It's not going to be weird for hockey, I don't think. Maybe in the playoffs. But even then, like, did you ever watch those Winter Classic broadcasts?
Yeah.
It's basically like you're watching a game with no fans there.
Yeah.
Like when it's at Fenway, you can't see the fan. The fucking view's all obstructed anyway. So it's like you're looking at the thing. You can kind of see the fans in the background. I don't think that's going to be a big problem. It's going to be weird in the NFL. It's going to be weird in the NBA. I don't think it's going to be weird for the other two sports. And I also don't think it's going to be like disqualifyingly weird for the NFL and the NBA. It's going to, we're all going to have to get used to it eventually. And as far as am I going to go back? No, I don't like being out in public, man. Going to the grocery store fucking sucks. I go to the grocery store, I cannot get out of there fast enough. I don't even get what I want. I see people. I just don't want to like look at them. I hate interacting with people now. I got the mask. Like I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I don't know if that's going to change for me. Like I'm a pretty outgoing person. You know me. We've gone out before, but like these days, I hate it. I really hate it. I hate being in public, and it sucks because that's one thing that I miss. Like, I miss doing it, but I know I can't like feel good about it for a long time. So no, I'm not going to any games for a while. Not until they say it's okay. Like, we're all sort of at the mercy of these same medical professionals, and most people are taking it seriously, but some people think they know better and are going out and fucking protesting and stuff. But like, I don't even like going to the grocery store. I don't want to go to fucking Trader Joe's. No way am I going to the Garden.
I got something for you. It's called Instacart.
What's that?
So download the app, Instacart. Okay. And what you do is you select the store that you would like to go to.
Oh.
So my choice is Market Basket.
Okay.
And you just go to Instacart and you select what you would like. Well, you can't see it, but you select it. They deliver it. Somebody delivers it to you. I don't know who, but somebody does, and they leave it right on your porch, so you don't have to fuck with them.
That's good.
You don't even have to see them, and you just pay it, and then you pick it up. Boom, 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 and it will tell you the date and the time that they deliver.
Wow.
So how about that for a plug?
It's a great plug.
They should.
All right. There was one thing. It was like the Peapod or whatever.
It's the same exact thing.
Peapod, right?
Yeah. It's just more options. Like, you could, if you like Drizzly, if you need booze,
Yeah, I know Drizzly. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like one of those things. All right. This is what we do. I'm sure you know about musings.
Yes.
This is more about your musings. But UFO videos. Okay. I know you talked about this last night, but like, shit, these things are real now. Like, what were your thoughts? Like, what did you guys discuss last night? Because I understand there are unidentified flying objects. Are they aliens? I don't know. But what the hell is unidentified and flying over our lives, and the government knows all about it?
Yeah, I sort of wonder what struck me about that is the Pentagon released all those videos. It was 3 videos. One of them was owned by Tom DeLonge from Blink-182.
Yeah.
Like, he has this like UFO research company or something, and like they had one of the videos. So the Pentagon, I guess, bought it from him, or they took it back from him. They had all been distributed already. Like, they were in the New York Times. Like, people had seen them and talked about them for like a couple years. And the Pentagon finally comes out and like acknowledges that they're real, acknowledges that they don't know what those things are in the videos. And I saw that and I thought, like, that's weird. Maybe they know, like, it's been distributed enough, everyone's seen it, they have to say something. But it also made me wonder, so, okay, which ones aren't they talking about? Because there's a lot of videos that still, I'm sure they have, or they know of, or, sightings or objects or fucking whatever that they're not talking about. And I wonder what that is. So, like, yeah, they're letting this out. They're basically able to say, like, okay, all these Navy pilots saw this thing. And did you see the video? Like, that thing is clearly an alien spaceship.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it is. I hope it is, because if it's not, then I'm freaking out more.
Yeah, it was like rotating and like shiny and going like 1,000,000 miles an hour against the wind. These Navy pilots who've been flying for 20 years are like, what the fuck is that? And like, I'm looking at it. I obviously don't know what it is, but like, if those guys don't know, that's some shit. So yeah, I was looking at that and sort of thinking, man, there's got to be something going on here. There's been a lot of like weird sightings lately. There's been a lot of stuff like that. My theory, and Joan sort of and I crafted this together, is that all the aliens are like, fuck this coronavirus shit. Let's get out of it. Let's go back to our home planets.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's going on.
Or they're like, where did everybody go?
Right.
Like, where the fuck is everybody? We can't, like, because we've heard stories about people being possessed or taken. Then now they can't find anybody because nobody's out. Right. So maybe that's why that's what they're looking for. They're looking for more people that are out. That freaks me out, by the way. Like, us talking about this is freaking me out right now. Your thoughts on Zoom calls? And you mentioned a story last night about somebody got fired for throwing a cat.
Yeah, it was some guy in California, some district selectman or some guy, I don't know, some guy like that. And it was a Zoom call that like the whole county could watch, like the public could watch it. And it was about like whether they were going to build like a new Costco somewhere in California. It was really, some guy really, when keeping it real goes wrong. And he's trying to talk and the cat's meowing in the background. So he picks the cat up and he's like, here's my cat, everybody. And then he throws the cat off to the side. And in the background, you hear like a thud and then a roar. And the cat runs away.
And everybody there, was everybody like shocked, like freaked out?
Like, yo, dude, like, what? You can't just throw your cat around. And then later in the thing, he's like drinking beer. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, that guy, he's a government official. You can't do that. But like, as far as Zoom calls are concerned, my college friends. So when I was in college, all my friends were like DJs, like rap DJs. We did a radio show where they would come in and spin vinyl and stuff like that, and I would interview, rappers and stuff like that. And so all my friends who are still out there still do these DJ nights. And since everything's shut down and everybody's quarantined, they've been live streaming their DJ nights. And we all get on a big Zoom call and we sort of talk and, request songs and get drunk and, just hang out on the weekends. And so my Zoom calls have been mostly pretty pleasant. Like I've had a pretty good time. My friends are playing music and, we're all having cocktails and we're all just, shooting the shit. And these are guys I don't see that much because they're out in Colorado. So it's nice to catch up with them. But I don't know. I mean, it's a nice little thing that's this little tradition being born out of the quarantine, but I really miss just going out. I just miss going down the street to the bar and just having a beer,
It's so weird. And this has worked out very well for me. The camera, nothing crazy. But like, remember Mike McCarthy at the draft? He couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yes.
With his Zoom video. So have you heard the story about there's two guys lately that have had ATM machine stories. So one guy found $1.5 million in his ATM machine. Like freaked out, and then like realized
spit out $1.5 million.
It showed it. It didn't spit it out.
Oh,
the other guy had.
So the bank put it in his account.
Yes, and he freaked out. Like, holy shit, this money's in my account. He went in the next day and it was gone. But I feel like he should be entitled to that money because they fucked with him. They made a mistake. He should be entitled to it. But
emotional damage. Yeah.
But then this other guy knew a way to like manipulate the system to like do a reverse and then add more money in, so the amount could be really high. He ended up getting the money from the ATM machine and just blew it. It's on Barstool. I saw it yesterday. But have you ever had like a crazy ATM story for you? Has anything like ever happened to you at an ATM or like?
Yeah, one time an ATM gave me an extra $20, and I thought it was the best day of my life. I tried to take out 100. It gave me 120. I was like, yes.
So weird ATM story. So I go up to the one, the one across from the garden. That, like a lot of homeless people are in when it's really cold. That one. So I go. Yeah. So I go in and there's still a receipt in the thing. So I pull the receipt out and it showed that the guy had $3.5 million on the receipt.
Damn.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, who the fuck was this guy? I'm like, what, but that was weird. Like, imagine just seeing someone's receipt with that amount of money in it. Like, holy shit. So that's really the only 18.
When was this?
Years ago. It was definitely like it was like during maybe the Celtics run in 11 maybe. No, 08. 08. Yeah, maybe 11 or yeah. One of the big runs.
Brown.
Might have been one of them. Right? Yeah. Could have been PJ.
One of the mid-level exception, yeah.
That's right. That 3.5 million went right into there. Yeah. Poor Jay Cutler's getting divorced.
Saw that. I don't know much about. I didn't watch their show, but everybody I've seen is like, yeah, good. It was a sham marriage. Jay Cutler should get out of there. Find a real woman that loves him instead of this woman who's always breaking him down. And I didn't realize that was what the show was about. It's basically Kristen just telling Jay Cutler what a bad, shitty, doughy guy he is. Is that it?
Pretty much.
I'd want out of that too. Fuck that. Kristen Cavallari, what did she ever do? What, you're on the hills?
The hills,
The hills, please. She wasn't even
before you open up the dirty window. Send a bit about what were their names? Spencer and
Heidi, Elsie, and Kristen, right? Elsie was, what was her name? Lauren Conrad or something?
The rest is still unwritten. That's all. That's all I got for that. But Jay Cutler sucks. I've never liked Jay Cutler in my life. Like he's got like people don't like Eli Manning, right? Because like how he looks. I definitely don't like Jay Cutler because of the way he looks. He's like definitely one. And speaking of looks, did Carmen Electra dude? Like I still am kind of like amazed. How old do you think she is?
I think she's almost 50. I looked it up last night. She's like 45 or 47 or something like that. But yeah, she's pushing 50. And if that was present day Carmen and that thing the other night, she looked very good. I had a couple of Carmen Electra posters on my wall growing up.
Oh yeah, Singled Out was one of my favorite shows as well.
Singled Out because it was Jenny McCarthy at first, right? Jenny McCarthy and Chris Hardwick. And I remember when they got rid of Jenny McCarthy, I thought, well, I'm never going to watch this again. They replaced her with Carmen Electra, and I was like, back in, baby.
Went from the blonde to the brunette. Yep, it worked out very well. All right, this is how we wrap up the show. Quarantine.
Okay.
Things that you were doing during quarantine. First thing you will do when quarantine is over.
First thing I'll do when quarantine is over, I will, I haven't really thought about it that much, but I think what I'd like to do the most is go downtown to a sports bar like Sullivan's or something like that, or Greatest Bar or something, and just tie one on, get a bunch of friends together, play some Pop-A-Shot, celebrate, and then maybe walk down over to the waterfront and go sit on the patio over at Joe's or Sail Loft or something along those lines. I don't know if the weather might not be right for that. So if it's in the winter, then I don't know. I want to go skiing or something. Depending on what time of year it is, I have a different activity planned. But yeah, I just really miss being out in the bar and watching a game on TV and just hanging out with my friends. Like that's something I really really miss.
Kind of like a Tia's on the waterfront, something like that.
Tia's would be great. Yeah, I miss Tia's. Down the Seaport, got Lucky's. I love Lucky's Lounge down in the Seaport. That's a great bar too. The patio up at Legal Seafoods. That's a nice one.
That whole area changed, man. It used to be the Beer Garden and then Whiskey Priest. All that shit's gone now, man.
No Name's gone too. Yeah,
they're all. It just looks completely different down there. What shows are you currently binging?
Well, we're doing the Blair Binge Project. So we just, what did we just watch? We just watched Money Heist on Netflix. It's this Spanish show about these bank robbers. Pretty good. I got them to binge watch the Trailer Park Boys animated season, which they liked. And right now, coming up, we have to watch Supernatural, which is a CW show about these two guys who, I don't know, chase down like fucking mystical beings or something. And I don't know exactly. I think we kind of got hoodwinked into this one, but that's the one we'll be watching next. Shows I'm watching right now. Well, Better Call Saul just finished. I was watching that. Very, very good.
What do you think of that, by the way? So I think Lalo is such a good villain, dude.
Lalo's a great character, isn't he?
Oh, and I'm curious what happens next. I don't want to spoil anything, but
yeah, I do. I mean, they made him into like a superhero, which is kind of weird. Like he's fucking Spider-Man.
I'm starting to wonder about Kim Wexler. Like, who is this Kim Wexler? Like,
maybe Kim Wexler's the one who's Breaking Bad, huh?
Ooh, I like that. Well, wife watched Schitt's Creek, which was pretty good.
That's a great show. Yeah,
I really liked it. And then she's watching one you'll probably appreciate now, Little Dicky and Dave.
I started to watch that and I was like, what is this? what am I watching? It's funny, but like it's a little much.
Yeah, I mean we're desperate at this time, so whatever we get. Favorite North End restaurant of all time or today?
Ooh, favorite of all time would be Florence's, which is now called Lemoncello's.
Okay, so my best friend Billy, his grandmother owns that place.
Get the fuck out of here, really?
Yep.
Lemoncello's or Florence's when it was hers at the same place?
Florence's.
Wow, that's awesome. I loved Florence's. I lived right by there, and we used to walk there. And it's a great place. It's got this cool mural on the wall and this cool little back bar, which is one of the coolest, smallest bars in the whole city. I think it's just beer and wine, but it's a cool little place with a TV. You can go watch, go watch sports. There's only like 4 seats, and it's right behind the kitchen or right next to the kitchen. So I love that place. I also love Neptune's. Neptune's is great. I was treated very well last time I was there. Neptune Oyster House. Terra Mia, a little place on Salem Street, delicious. Very, very small little hole in the wall. And I like Luca's. I like R2, ARTU. That also is the latest last call in the North End, I believe. I don't know if that's still the case, but it used to be.
And Bova's, right?
Yeah, Bova's, of course. There was a Cafe Paradiso I used to go to, but they closed it.
Yep. That's funny. Wow.
Or no, Vesuvius. Or what was the place where you could just walk up and get Pompeii? That was it, Pompeii. Yeah, we could get pizza, but then that place closed down because of health code violations.
So I was treated to Florence's. Obviously, she's retired now.
Right.
But she brought in. She had made all these cannolis.
Yeah.
She brought in that thing that you squirt the cannoli into, but she made us pasta and everything. Like, dude, it was fucking amazing.
I can't even imagine.
And it was so good. So I'm glad you mentioned that one.
I love Florence's.
What is your drink of choice, Christian Arcand?
Drink of choice. I'm a whiskey guy. If I'm getting like a drink, I like I don't know. I like a Manhattan maybe or you know what I've sort of gotten into is mezcal. You ever drink mezcal?
Yeah.
If there's a drink on the menu that has mezcal in it, I'll try that. I'll fuck with that. But like, I don't know. I don't have like a drink that's just the one thing I get all the time.
How about Southern Comfort? You know Southern Comfort?
Not really.
Yeah.
I had a couple bad experiences in college with Southern Comfort. Too sweet.
SoCo Joe. That was my screen name when I was growing up. I'm a big cider guy now. I love cider.
Oh, you should talk to my fiance. She doesn't drink beer. She's a big cider fan.
Oh, down east. If you get a chance, try. By the way, what is your wedding song?
Well, that's a little up in the air right now with everything that's going on.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Right. So what the dude? That sucks, huh?
It is. And we're not sure exactly what's going to happen yet, but we had a couple of songs that we were trying to decide between. One was a Stevie Wonder song, that upbeat sort of fun Stevie Wonder song. I can't remember what it's called now. Once in My Life. Yeah, Once in My Life. Rather Be With You is one that I liked. What else? I don't know. We've been
I'm putting you on the spot big time right now.
Yeah, well, also we've been stressing out about this pretty hard for the last couple weeks. So I've completely forgot. Like we might have to call the band and tell them not to come. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going on here.
Did you have a date and everything?
Oh yeah.
When is?
You want to hear a funny story? So the date's August 8th, right? August 8th, which is 8/8. And we got engaged on August 10th of last year, and the venue that we wanted to use, they had an opening that day. And so we grabbed it, and we were all excited, and it was, a Saturday and everything. And so I went online to look and see if 8/8 meant anything, like if there was any significance to that number. And you know what 8/8 it means online?
What's that?
It means Hail Hitler.
Get the fuck out of here.
8 is like the H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. So these fucking loser Nazis like write to each other at the end, they write 8/8 like, instead of like see ya, they write like 8/8. That's like their tag at the end of these things. And I'm reading it and I'm going, fuck, man, like this is what 8/8 is. Like, Jesus Christ, these stupid online Nazis. Is there anything they haven't screwed up for us yet? Like, come on. And so yeah, and the only thing I was worried about is that if the wedding would go off and that like some weird distant cousin would come up to me and be like, "Hey, great job with the date, man." So I'm glad that's. I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, that was a little frustrating seeing that.
We'll wrap up with a couple of things here. The Rifleman does PTA. Someone says. Balthazar, if you need a DJ for his wedding, give him a call.
I might, yeah.
He did mine. A very, very good job.
Oh, did he really? Balthazar did your wedding? That's awesome. Balthazar's the man. I love that dude.
He is the man.
Yeah.
And what whiskeys do you like?
What whiskeys do I like? I like, you know what I like is Suntory, the Japanese whiskey. You ever had that?
No, I haven't, but I drink it. Oh, he's got it in the back.
Just right here.
Oh, you've been slugging that thing pretty good, huh?
As you can see, it's almost empty. So
I was gonna say you've been slugging on that thing pretty well here.
That's right. Yeah, I'm down. It used to be up here, but now it's down there.
Is that a Pedro Martinez Montreal shirt?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
It was one of my quarantine purchases.
Good for you, man. Good for you. So what do you guys got coming up tonight on the Jones Show?
I don't know, because instead of getting ready for the show, I've been here talking to you for an hour. So.
All right then. We'll end it here. We'll end it here, Christian Arcand. I will be with you next week. We'll hang out and do this again. I appreciate you joining the show today. Everyone got to know you a little bit more. We got to have fun and kill some time during quarantine, and maybe you guys will bring it up on the show tonight. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe Jeremy will go through it and look for something to fuck with you.
Yeah, he probably will.
He's very good. He's very good. All right, he is Christian Arcand. Check him out tonight. Somebody already said they're ordering the Suntory now, so you can get your. Hopefully, you got to get on Cameo. I think, right? Everybody else is on Cameo at this point.
Yeah, I know. I want to pay Tony Maz to record a message for Jones, but I gotta word it perfectly.
Yeah, you gotta get it written down the right way. All right, he's Christian Arcand, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Check him out tonight at 6:00. Christian, appreciate the time, my man, and thanks for. Man. We'll see you next week, my man.
All right. Peace.
All right. I'll hang up now. We'll see you next week. So he's Christian Arcand. Thanks for joining the show. That was a fun time. Love Christian. Good dude. Works hard. Always in it for fun. And he's does a great job with Adam Jones as well. So that's it for today. I'm done. Hour and 27 minutes. Got some wrestling thoughts coming up. What's it called? This weekend is Money in the Bank. So actually next weekend is. So we're going to do a podcast with Jay Stu and Mike Riley. So we are going to do that. We're going to give out the odds this weekend and give you some thoughts on that. And also Dark Side of the Ring is tonight. So I'll give a recap for that tomorrow. Tomorrow's guest, Michael Hurley from CBS Boston Sports. We'll talk with him tomorrow, and appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. Again, you can check it out on Spotify, on YouTube, and on iTunes, and tell all your friends about it. Again, I'm Joe Murray, just sitting there. We'll talk to you tomorrow with Michael Hurley.